years of nonstop marching in this fight. I know those days, but those days come and go when new elements enter the picture that may be bad news, like the confirmation of the bee colony collapse disorder that we have stated all along, that I've stated to some of the top beekeepers in the country going back a number of years, that the heavy metals were the larger factor, that it was not just the chemicals. What I'm getting at is when those days we feel futile, that we have no proof, people claim we don't have proof, we have mountains of proof, but then we get another card to play that's not good news. It's certainly not good news that the bees are full of aluminum. For those that have not seen the recent data, the larvae at 200 to 300 ppb, parts per billion of aluminum, extremely, extremely high levels. Absolutely creating this effect to a large degree. Not that the climate's not decimated, not that there's not a massive northern hemisphere ozone hole, most directly linked to climate engineering, but under certain applications, absolutely, this is important for everybody to share in the field, they are making an effort to be much more covert in the spraying, and that people need to understand, unless you see a white cloud and blue sky, if you're seeing this dingy, cobwebby, dirty, fuzzy, undefined stuff in the air that causes the cumulus clouds, if you do see any, to be blent into a background of white. You're seeing a sky full of aerosols, period. So a lot of people not yet recognizing that's the case. So in Northern California, the rain blockage continues. Huge amount of moisture over us right now. Massive spraying. Almost nothing coming down. Clouds literally melted together, and that's the effect of the aerosols. Featureless, with nothing coming out. You just have this sort of dim horizon as far as you can see. Lightning with no rain. No wonder we have forests around the globe burning to the ground. Forests covered with incendiary dust. The foliage is covered with flammable metal particulates. So we have the worst of all worlds. We have a forest that's been dried out to a crisp due to a lack of precipitation, due to a lack of humidity. These particulates are desiccants. They absorb all available moisture. And we have, of course, more lightning because we have a more conductive atmosphere. These particles are electrically conductive. Worst of all worlds. From every direction, climate engineering is the greatest folly ever committed by the human race. What are you going to do, Mr. Official, when your citizens find out that you knew this was a problem and you did not disclose it? You're legally liable, morally liable. The public will hold you accountable.
Have the capability of actually smelling and tasting these things in the air. In fact, that's when I first woke up to this, is I started tasting very salty metallic taste in the air and had terrible inflammation, pain, headache, all kinds of symptoms that came over me within a period of about 10 or 15 minutes, which I'd never experienced anything like this before. And the taste and the symptoms all coincided. And I looked outside and saw these big plumes across the sky that had been there for about an hour. And that's what woke me up to this. And I will tell you that the scents and the tastes that we experience, those of us who are sensitive that way, there are many. Around between 7 or 10 at night, and the time varies, they'll throw something down, or something reaches ground level, I should say, around that time, that causes terrible inflammation and tastes like a pharmaceutical drug mixed with some kind of really bitter herb taste. I don't know what this stuff is, but it causes me to have dramatic inflammation. And I've seen other people have symptoms where they get nauseous, they get headaches, they get joint and muscle pain. Some of those symptoms I have as well.
Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a growing but neglected global epidemic. We're all frogs in boiling water right now, period. Whether we realize it or not, whether we feel healthy or not tonight, we're all breathing this stuff in. It's clogging us up slowly but surely. It's absolutely happening. We're not. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a growing but neglected global epidemic. We're all frogs in boiling water right now, period. Whether we realize it or not, whether we feel healthy or not tonight, we're all breathing this stuff in. It's clogging us up slowly but surely. It's absolutely happening. We're not speculating. We have about 6 lab tests from Shasta County alone. We know this material's in the air, and we know we're breathing it. There's no speculation on this. This is a bioaccumulative metal. It's just what we know about is lethally harmful. So this is a problem we all are experiencing to some degree. 1 in 3 older adults now dies with dementia and or Alzheimer's. Doesn't mean they die with it or from it, but they die with it. And all of us, again, are somewhere along that path. Cognitively, we all have this stuff in us. It's affecting us all to some degree. This is an older chart. I've used this chart before, but it's important because it shows the escalation for autism. We've gone from 1 in 5,000 to 1 in 50. That's a 10,000% increase. That should alarm people. So why are people watching American Idol and football and drinking beers and having tailgate parties? We're immersed in an absolute crisis right here, right now. So my attempt is to convey that message. The global depopulation policy killing us softly. How do you cool a population without panicking them? You know, I stayed away from this subject in very much depth because I'd hoped people would come around and just to the simple notion they're being sprayed like rats day in and day out. But it seemed not enough have. As long as McDonald's is flipping burgers and Walmart's open, people seem to think everything's okay, but it's not. It's not. And this will come to a very abrupt end very soon on the course we're on.
Now, this letter was written in 2007. They no longer need RFID chipped technologies to be placed in people that are unaware of surgical procedures and the placement of chips. Now, of course, it's through chemtrails, and you'll understand that chemtrails do now use in their aerosol spraying program nanofibers, and this is nano brain entrainment. This is synthetic growth of wiring in our bodies. You can go to another link on stopthecrime.net. It sounds macabre. It is. It's entitled No More Humans. And understand, this is an attempt by those in power with the physics and science and the money to reduce the global population. We are under what they call a transhumanism agenda conducted upon the American and global populations. And what does that mean? Well, that means now that we have launched into a new type of warfare. We're all on a battlefield. And when you look at Senate Report 93549, it tells you we're the enemy. We are the enemy. We're the enemy of this corporate government structure that is layered. It's a layered